Hello everyone. Today I want to show you 3 titles that I got in a recent Arrow video sale that I got through Grindhouse Video. Took a while to get here, but they warned it would take about a month, and it did. First up is The Apartment, Billy Wilder's famous classic film with Jack Lemmon, Shirley MacLaine. I've seen it a gazillion times. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. And I wasn't really going to get it, but I wanted to see the 4K restoration. It's also loaded with extras. I probably won't do a video on it because I'm in the mood to talk about overlooked, forgotten movies, and The Apartment certainly hasn't been an overlooked movie. But this next one I probably will make a video on. This is the 4K UHD of Flash Gordon. I loved this movie when it came out. I think it was 1980. It's only the second 4K UHD that I purchased. The Hitchcock Universal set is the other one. And again, mostly because it's all the big name commercial films that I'm not much in the mood for one reason or another lately. But this is one I think I will watch and probably do a video on. But today's video is going to be the third title, which is The Big Clock. And it stars Charles Laughton, Ray Milland, directed by John Farrell, 1948. It's the story of a publishing magnate who owns lots of different magazines. It's loosely based on Time magazine. Henry Luce, Charles Laughton plays the owner. He's a megalomaniac. He's a bully. Treats his employees horribly. If you make one mistake, you're fired. Only he doesn't do the firing. He gets an underling to do the firing. And if you want to quit, he'll blacklist you. So he's a villain. And Laughton is just a hammy actor, but he's one of those hammy actors that's very effective, and no matter what he does, and he puts his all into his performance in this one. And I think it's one of his best roles. Ray Milland plays the head of his crime magazine. Murder is committed. Ray Milland is seen exiting the premises but he is not the murderer. The murderer, however, does see that somebody has exited the building and could identify him, the murderer. So he assigns Ray Milland to find out who this other man was, because mild spoiler here, and it doesn't take too much imagination to realize that Charles Laughton is going to be the murderer in this scenario. So he assigns Ray Milland to investigate and try to discover who this man was that could identify him. He did not see that it was Ray Milland. It's a very clever premise. If the story sounds vaguely familiar, it's the basis for the 1987 movie with Kevin Costner and Gene Hackman, which was set in politics. So we have and I got to briefly mention The Big Clock, because this is set in this office building, and when you enter the main lobby, there's this gigantic clock, and it's meant to represent the mechanization of modern life, the clockwork of corporate policies and imperatives, and you have to become a cog in the machine of the big clock. And it was written by the novel was written by a novelist called Kevin Fearing. I've never read anything by him. In fact, the name is new to me. But in the 1940s, he was highly respected. I think this was a best-selling novel, and he is the one that really he worked for Time magazine, and so there's authenticity the way the corporate world is presented here. The screenplay was by Jonathan Latimer, also a crime novelist. He added humor to the story. He thought that film noirs way too serious, but for film noir purists, The Big Clock would be somewhat tainted by this comedy that Latimer injects into the storyline, especially with Elsa Lanchester, who Charles Laughton's real life wife. She plays this painter. She's hilarious. Everybody in this movie is good. It's a terrific Charles Laughton performance, and Milland's good too. He has to. There's eyewitnesses that can identify him, so he has to stay away from the eyewitnesses. But the web keeps building up, so that he would be identified as presumably the murderer, the man who ran away. A Hitchcockian kind of conceit. So we have two really good storytellers as far as the novel, the screenplay. John Farrow himself wrote novels and nonfiction, and Richard Maybaum is the producer, and he wrote the first 12 James Bond movies. So there's lots of talent here, and behind the camera as well as John Seitz, the photography, the set design. Seitz is famous for Double Indemnity and Sunset Boulevard for Billy Wilder. Farrow himself is an overlooked director. I've overlooked him, and I look over his filmography. I'm not sure how many movies of his I've ever seen. I'm going to try to catch up with a few more. And he employs in this film, and evidently it was a stylistic trait of his, is long takes, not extended takes, but long takes. 3 minutes, I think, was 3.5 minutes. I think is the longest take in the movie. But there's lots of people in the movie, so these are very precise and intricate. But even when there's only 2 or 3 people in a scene, they move around in space, and the tension can build up that way. There's not a lot of quick editing. Like I say, there's lots of people in this movie, and and everybody has a specific little, I wouldn't call it shtick, but a little kind of character trait that makes them interesting, even though they get very little screen time. And so I can see people in very small roles that you see in many different movies, even though you don't know their name. But I did notice Noelle Neal in a very short scene, she's an elevator operator, and she played Lois Lane in the Superman TV series in the 1950s with George Reeves, which I have very fond memories of watching over and over and over again. And then one of Ray Milland's investigators is Richard Webb, and he always, I get, oh man, who is that? And then right away, oh, Captain Midnight, who is another TV series, and I probably had a couple of decoder rings, I think, in the 1950s. They're probably worth a fortune today, but my decoder rings are long gone. There's on this erudition, there is a outstanding commentary by Adrian Martin. He always gives good commentaries. He really digs deep into the differences between the book and the movie. He's quite enamored with the book. The novelist Kenneth Fearing was also a poet, so I guess and Adrian Martin reads some of the descriptive passages from the novel, and evidently outside of softening down sexual storylines, which had to be done to make the movie, it's pretty faithful. A lot of the scenes in the novel are in the movie. Simon Callow has about a 25-minute interview with him where he talks about Charles Laughton's career. Callow wrote a biography of Laughton, so that was very interesting. Of course, Laughton, he didn't have a whole lot of really good screen roles, The Hunchback of Notre Dame being sort of the apex of his acting career. But he was such a unique and very strange kind of actor, but always good. And and he had a great visual sense. His mustache in this movie, and his visual sense and his art, his love of art, really plays out in a movie. The only movie he ever directed, The Night of the Hunter, which is a great fairy tale, kind of film noir fairy tale from later on in the 1950s. And then Adrian Wooten. There's another about a 25-minute analysis of the movie and really getting into the aesthetics of John Farrow's style and the historical context of the movie. Okay, so that about wrap up this video. This is a Arrow edition that I really highly recommend. I thought it'd be a pretty good movie, but I really liked it. I liked it even better the second time around. So that'll about wrap it up. Thanks for everybody who stuck with me. Appreciate it very much. You guys take care, and I'll catch you next time.